Hi everyone and welcome to Real Life Talks. I'm your host Yvonne Heath, author of the book Love Your Life to Death and founder of the I Just Showed Up movement. So joining me today is my new friend. We're friends now, yes?
Yeah,
I would say, yeah.
absolutely.
Christine Fishmann. Hello,
Yeah,
Christine.
hi.
So I am just, this all just seems, it was just meant to be. We were meant to meet, weren't we?
I completely agree.
Right?
Yep. There are people that come into our lives at the perfect time and
Yes.
very serendipitously.
Absolutely. So I love that. So we met, we were both taking the course Mental Health First Aid, and it was taught by Suzanne Witt-Foley,
Yep.
who has also been a guest on my show.
She's a lovely, lovely woman.
We love you. We love you, Suzanne. Thank you. Mental Health First Aid, I think, is something that everyone should take. Do you agree?
100%. Yeah.
Yes. I think it should be as mandatory as CPR should be mandatory throughout our lives.
I agree, and I think that it should start earlier. I would love to see it in high schools, even middle school.
I actually would like to see it taught at age appropriate from JK on. How would that be?
Yeah, just a continuation from a mindfulness-based program
Yes.
into more of the nitty-gritty as they grow up, for sure.
Yes, and I love that. So at the course, you had a T-shirt on with, it had glasses with Goose from Top Gun, which is
Yes.
my husband's favorite show. And I love that. And
Yes.
then I had
A Chewbacca shirt.
Chewbacca shirt
Yeah.
on. We were the cool kids.
We were
really.
totally the cool kids. And that's how I knew that our souls were meant to connect.
Absolutely, yes. And we happen to live 15 minutes apart.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to your story. So I'd love you to share what you do and what we're here to talk about, your journey and the wonderful journey, what you have chosen to do.
Okay. Well, I'm an early childhood educator, so I've been in this field many years in various different roles. I'm currently the EC at Lodestar Montessori School in Bracebridge. So hi, all my Lodestar friends.
There you go, yes.
And this role is an amazing role, and I've seen so many children come into my life. I also have 2 children of my own. And with mental health being such a prominent topic, and it's becoming even more so with the younger age group, I really feel a kinship, a connection with these children who I see are struggling. And it kind of, my journey started out when I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, probably 10 or 15 years ago, well into my adulthood.
Okay.
But looking back, I have always had anxiety. It just showed itself in way different ways when I was little. So when our first son, or our first child, our son, started to show signs of anxiety, I knew that I wanted to help him, but adult anxiety can be quite different than childhood anxiety. So I reached out and I started to talk to professionals and our doctor and developmental therapists and teachers and other fellow educators as well, just to try and help us help him. And in doing that research, I found that there seemed to be a gap in literacy materials to bring it back into the home for families and for parents and caregivers and educators to be able to have these important conversations. So I love to write, and I wrote and published my first book.
Dun, 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 dun. Yes.
Yeah, Sweet Honey Kisses for an Anxious Bear was a labor of love. Very
I absolutely
much
love it. I'm going to put it right here.
a third child.
Yes.
And I'm really hoping that it will be a tool that will be used for families and in the classroom and for therapists or anybody really who works with children or has little children in their lives.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's go back. So an EC is?
An early childhood educator.
Okay, so yes, you work in the classroom with children.
Yeah, my age group is typically like 18 months to age 5 is kind of that age range. It can be younger and it can also be a little bit older, but that's like the sweet spot.
Right. And so when you talk about, so when we say generalized anxiety, what does that mean versus What other kind is there? There's more specific diagnosis. Generalized is what?
In a nutshell, for me, generalized anxiety is just, I feel anxious a lot of the time. And I have learned a lot of coping tools throughout my adult life. But it's not really having one specific trigger that you know for sure this is going to set you off.
Okay.
Whereas some other specific anxiety disorders, it could be a social anxiety disorder or fear of leaving the house, or fear almost like a PTSD anxiety. So this one that I'm lucky enough to be an anxiety warrior for is just talking myself through a lot of different situations and new situations.
Right.
Yeah.
So you said, looking back, you could see that you most likely experienced this throughout your childhood. So what did that look like for you when you were a child?
Oh, it was rough. I mean, hats off to my parents. I didn't want to go anywhere. I hated going to birthday parties. It was a lot of the transitions and meeting new people, being in a new classroom with a new teacher, swimming lessons, just pretty much all the typical kid things I struggled with.
Right.
And then I found that as a mom now, I look back and my parents did such a great job helping me through those situations, but a lot of them kind of manifested themselves into sore tummies and headaches. And it was to the point, actually, I think I was about 8 or 9, and I went through many medical tests for stomach pains and
there's nothing wrong with her. Everything's fine.
Exactly.
Except that your tummy hurts.
Exactly.
Yes, I know.
I guess it wasn't really talked about back then.
But we didn't have the knowledge, we didn't have the words, the resources, and thank goodness that is changing.
Oh, yes.
Right? That is changing, and you are being a part of that change. And
I'm hoping
Well, you are first of all, by unapologetically sharing your story. Right? I mean, having anxiety, and we talk about stigma, you didn't choose it, you didn't create it.
That's exactly it, yep.
Right? And we have to be okay with it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I remember feeling extreme anxiety at times in my life, and I realized it can be debilitating without the proper support or understanding. Or coping skills and strategies. So I think that what you're doing, because as much as we're talking about it more and more, I believe we need to be talking about it more and more with younger and younger and normalizing these conversations.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, and you've given us a tool. So tell us about Sweet Honey Kisses for an Anxious Bear.
The story itself is loosely based around some of the experiences that we went through with our son, and then also some of the things that I went through as well. So it walks through the day in the life of Little Bear and many anxiety-provoking situations that our children could go through in a school day. So whether it's waking up in the morning and not wanting to go to school, or being super anxious when you get to school because you have this math test, or you're the smallest in your gym class and not feeling included with your peers. And so it touches on a lot of those different situations. And then through Mama Bear's encouragement and really the own empowerment that comes from Little Bear within, he manages to get himself through each situation. And then at the end, you just see him so ecstatic, and he celebrates that he made it through the day, and he's okay, and it will be okay.
It's so funny because when you say that, it's hard on the heart to know that, maybe for 8 children, going to school, picking your clothes, going to gym class, and you're the smallest, doesn't affect them. Here's the thing for that one little bear, this is all very real.
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing, like we have to really stay out of judgment.
Yep.
Or trying to fix or say, it's okay, you're going to be fine.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's the acknowledging and allowing those feelings.
Big time.
Yes.
And just letting them know that you're holding space for them. And here are some of the tools that will help, but your power is from within, and I'm here to help and support you, and I love you no matter what. And it's okay not to be okay, but at the end of the day, you will be okay, and I'm here to help you.
And you have it within yourself. That's the wonderful thing. We can't do it for someone else, and we really want to.
We really, really want to.
We really want to, as parents, as healthcare professionals, as educators.
Yep.
We desperately want to fix and to reassure. It's okay. I mean, of course you want to reassure, but we have to acknowledge how someone is feeling.
Yeah, and you want to build our children up to be resilient. And with that, it's also a fine balance between, as you said, doing everything for them and then giving them the tools to go out and test the waters on their own too.
Know that they're going to be safe.
Yeah.
And again, it's okay to be uncomfortable in a situation, but to have the skills and the coping skills to know that, oh, I can handle this.
Yes, exactly.
Fear doesn't have to go away.
No, use it.
It's a big thing,
use
right?
it to your ability.
So how are we doing in the education system as far as, like, I feel for teachers, I really do. I mean, you can have a classroom with how many students, 20, 30, however many.
Yep.
And they all have different, maybe they have a physical diagnosis, a mental health issue. How are we helping teachers, or how can we as parents help? Because we need this as a team, right? We all need to be parents or families, friends, healthcare professionals, and educators. We all need to be on the same page.
I feel like that's a really loaded question.
It is.
Especially given this point in time. But you're absolutely right. It has to be a team effort. I really feel, especially with my own children and the children that I am an educator for, giving them that foundation of empathy, making them aware that as much as we want them to be the center of our worlds, there are so many other children around you, and people come from all walks of life and all backgrounds, and we just need to be sensitive and intuitive to the fact that, you know, your little friend might have had a really rough morning and they might need some extra kindness today. Or as an educator, knowing that, you know, not every child loves to come to school, or maybe they do really love to come to school because outside of school is not an ideal situation.
Right.
So teaching empathy at a really early age really helps to set these children up for success later in life. And then that's just a building block that we can continue on, both as in the education world and then at home as well, that we can continue to build on.
I think the other really big thing when you're talking about mental health, and of course I talk about the fact that we need to prepare for grief before grief arrives, and that is, grief is all life's challenges and heartache, and we don't know what these children are going through at home, right? There is divorce, diagnosis, maybe there's financial stress, maybe there's abuse, and a lot of children are going to school hungry, and there's so many complex situations. The big thing that we have to understand, we don't all need a PhD.
No.
We need a village, right, for these children. And we can all make a difference.
Exactly. Yep. You just need to show up.
Just show up. Thank you for that.
That's right.
But it is...
It's so true, though.
And we can teach this to children. For each other. Right? We don't have to be, you don't always, oh, so-and-so is struggling, I have to go get the teacher. I mean, maybe you do, but maybe sometimes you could say, oh, it sounds
I'm just going to sit with you.
There you go. Yes,
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit with you. Or that sounds really hard.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Exactly.
We
Having
do
that
that at
open
every-
dialogue.
Open dialogue. Yes, I remember reading a story of somebody was grieving, and of course everyone's like, oh, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to say, and a little kid said, I'm just going to go sit and cry with Grandma. Right? Mm-hmm. That's so powerful, isn't it?
Is so
Kids
powerful.
are so smart.
They're very intuitive. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that we, again, all of us, every community member, we need to get better at being maybe, it is a little uncomfortable.
And that's okay.
And that's okay too,
Yeah.
absolutely. So can you, I just want to go back, tell me a little bit more about your childhood as far as anxiety and how it can manifest, or what parents, what do we need to look for if, I mean, there's always going to be times we are anxious, but where's the line?
Where's those red flags?
The red flags where, maybe this is a little bit more than feeling anxious for a test.
Right.
Because that's sort of a gray area too, isn't it?
Yeah. I would say, so for myself, as I said, I didn't want to go anywhere. And getting me to try new things was horrible. And I would really, I wouldn't sleep for days. Like
So you
nights.
wouldn't sleep, you
No.
didn't want to go anywhere, and
No.
how did you
And then,
feel?
yeah, my stomach would hurt. I felt like I could be sick all the time. And then the headaches started. So when our son, who was 3, I guess, at the time that we really first started to notice, he started to show some of the same signs, and
Okay.
transitions were really, really difficult. We had to do a lot of talking, a lot of pre-warning about where we were going and how long we were going to be there, and just kind of outline the path, the plan of action. And if we happened to differ from that, it was at times catastrophic.
Wow.
So I knew, you have that mama intuition that this is not just a typical three-nager meltdown. That we were dealing with.
Sure, that's cute. Yes,
We were dealing
yes.
with something a bit bigger. And bless his heart, like it broke my heart to watch him and just know that I feel you, buddy, and I get it. But you also want them to be resilient. And just like my parents did with me, we're still going to go, and you're going to be okay. And I'm here if plans change or things don't go according to the way you thought they were going to go, it's okay, and I'll be here to pick up the pieces with you. So we began that journey, and he has seen a play therapist, and which has made a world of a difference.
So that was very helpful. That's because I wanted to ask, yes,
Yep.
what helps?
Yep, and for him, drawing his worries has really helped.
Okay.
Giving them an actual physical representation, and then we were able to talk about it, and then we even went as far as like ripping up the paper, and that to him solidified like, okay, I can put this to bed. I don't have to worry about it anymore. So
Strategies,
that's right.
coping skills.
Finding
That's-
what works and rolling with it, and knowing that every child is different. So our daughter is very different to him, but she does also have her anxious moments too.
Sure.
And what's worked with the first one isn't working for the second one. So you just have to figure it out.
And let's be honest, the elephant in the room, that is exhausting.
It is
And-
exhausting.
Right? Like,
Yep.
let's be honest.
Yep.
And I feel for every parent out there who is going through this, because what worked for this child absolutely will not work for the other child.
Yep.
And that's just life also,
Yep.
isn't it?
And you can be the best educator in the world. You can be the best mom in the world. And it's so different with every single child. And
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, yes, so we have twins. We have an older boy, and I've spoken many times about, mental health and not being prepared for grief and all of those things. I mean, we had quite a journey as well, but we now have twins who are in high school, and which I had to work really hard at not being terrified. But one child goes to math class and says, oh, I just really love when we have a math test. Said no child ever that I've ever heard before that. And the other child is struggling with math and doesn't want to do math. And so you say, okay, these are raised in the same home, same family, and totally different situation. So you can't have the same coping skills and strategies.
That's right.
Yes, wow. And when I think of your wonderful son who I've met, who's adorable, change is the only constant in this world. So that is a very huge obstacle, isn't it?
It is. It was. Because we've been working with him and closely with other professionals, he's learned so many tools. So now he manages it a lot better, which I feel like, knock on wood, we're on the right path, but it's taken many years to get here.
Right. So, and thinking about the fact that we need our village, does he speak openly about this? Do you speak openly about this? Do his friends know? How, where do you draw the line, or is there a line?
I draw the line with his comfort. So we are a very open family, the four of us in our four walls of our home. There's really nothing that we don't talk about. When we're out in public, I kind of let him lead, and if he chooses to bring it up or share with me, Mommy, I'm anxious, or I'm feeling nervous because of X, Y, and Z, we will absolutely talk about it. If he's around his peers and he's feeling apprehensive about whatever it is, going on the climbing wall at the sportsplex or something, I will watch, and if he brings it up with me, we will talk about it gently, but I don't ever want to put him in a position where he feels uncomfortable to discuss it, as much as I'm really trying to end the stigma or help to end the stigma and have open dialogues. It's also riding that fine line.
Absolutely. And he's also, he's young, so, and it's funny because I always tell people, I said, I'm sure I could be the poster adult for ADHD, and I say that with pride, actually, because, I have trouble sitting still, I have trouble focusing. You should have seen me in math class, which, I won't show my kids this. Like, it was so challenging. But you know what it is? It's also a relief.
Yes,
because,
I agree.
Right? Anxiety, ADHD, whatever, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, it is what is happening in your brain.
Yes.
It is not something that you've made up, that you've created. This is as real as, something that you can do blood work or do an x-ray. It's as real as that. So
I'm very open about talking about my own anxiety and my own journey. So I just hope that both of our children can see that it is okay to talk about, and it's definitely not a taboo subject at all. And that if I can help others by talking about it, then my work is done.
Yes. So what would your greatest advice to parents, to other educators be, as far as, well, first of all, I will say, your book should be in all JKs and homes, and
I
right?
would love that, yes.
Here, let's just do that again, another plug-in. Because do you know what I love about the book is that it's well, first of all, it's a very, the pictures are beautiful, and the story is so relatable in simple language, but it just makes you feel better about yourself. You're like, I was relating to, I have felt that, absolutely, and I have felt awkward, and it's just so relatable, and I think it will validate, absolutely, no, I really love it, and it will validate so many children's feelings, but also help parents understand.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes. So besides the fact that they should read your book, what other advice would you have for parents or educators or children who feel anxious?
So it's advice, but it's also my biggest hope. And that is, early intervention is key for everything. And if we can start these conversations and really be sensitive and intuitive to the red flags, at such an early age and get children help and really start talking about the issues at hand early on. It is my biggest hope in the entire world that we would eventually, hopefully, see reduced mental illness in teens, adults, less suicides.
Yes.
Because we are starting these conversations really early.
Talk early, talk often, and let's be proactive.
Yes.
Imagine young children, and you are an incredible mama bear, I have to
Thank
say.
you.
And you're teaching your children that they are resilient, that they are warriors, that they can do this at an early age. So this is, throughout their teen years and adulthood, and there will be anxious times.
Yes.
My goodness.
Yep.
So to know from an early age, you know what, I have it in me.
That's right.
To handle this. And yes, we can prevent. I do believe with all my heart and soul having these conversations openly, honestly, and say, I don't always know what to do, but I'm gonna find out.
Yeah.
And get help.
And get help. Don't be
help if you need
afraid.
it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. Lean on your village.
Lean on your village. I love, and I wanted to say, because when we went to mental health first aid, there was this Connects Ontario, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a 1-866-531-2600 number, and this shares information, access to addiction, mental health, and problem gambling services. You never have to do this alone.
Yeah, exactly.
So I applaud you, my friend. Thank you for everything that you are doing to be a voice and advocate for mental health for our youth. So important. I love your book, Sweet Honey Kisses for an Anxious Bear. Everyone should read it. It's wonderful. They can you have a website?
I do, ChristineFishmann.com.
ChristineFishmann.com. It's easy. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you. So this has been Real Life Talks, where we learn how to just show up for ourselves, just show up for each other, and have sometimes hard conversations, but important conversations. And the point today is talk early and talk often. So if you want to be empowered and resilient, you want to be able to just show up for yourself and for others, my advice is always plan your life, plan your death, and then just love your life to death. And always bring your own tambourine to the party. Thanks, bye for now.